I'd like to apologize right now. I am sick, so I might sound a little funny, and I might stumble over some words in this reading of the Creepypasta story of Slender Man, or at least one of them. And if you are sensitive to this type of stuff, you may want to click off right now. If you don't blame me, please. Okay, let's get on into the reading. After waking up with a jolt, the girl laid in bed a few seconds longer, reaching over to switch on her bedside lamp. She tried to remember exactly what had stolen her sweet slumber away. When she couldn't, the brunette swung her legs over the side of the bed and heaved herself up. Checking the time on her phone, she snorted when she saw it was midnight, the witching hour. Knowing that she could only evade her, she left her bedroom for the kitchen, a good cup of tea or coffee on her mind. As she passed by her front door, a chill spread like liquid fire down her spine. It was only winter, she told herself, focusing on the coffee plan. Measuring out scoops of water and preparing her cup kept her occupied. But as the dark liquid boiled, she had nothing left to keep her mind from wandering off. The chill returned, and she couldn't help but glance behind her to see the front door. It stood there innocently enough, just like always. The deadbolt was still in place, and she could see nothing amiss with it. Turning back to her coffee, she did her best to forget about the feeling. With her cup of coffee in hand, she stood back to her bedroom. As she walked by the front door, she decided to take a quick glance out the peephole. That would calm her restless mind. The chill worsened with each step she took towards the door and further away from the safety and warmth of her blankets. She pressed her empty hand against the cold metal door and took a brief breath before leaning her eye to the peephole. At first she could only see complete blackness, and somehow seemed to swirl in itself. When she blinked in surprise, the void melted away. She wished it hadn't. In its place there stood what could only guess was once a man. The limbs are long and inhumanly awkward, with bulky joints branching off into several arms. Not unlike the branches of a tree, the creature was draped in a black suit, somehow making the thing more nightmarish to her. The icing on the profitable cake, however, was what passed as thing's face. It was as though her mind blurred a ghastly passage to spare itself further shock and horror. She shoved herself away from the door, with hands still pressed against it. The scalding mug of coffee fell, the liquid burning her bare legs as she fell backwards and tried to crawl away from the door. She knew somehow that her mind hadn't been playing tricks on her. As she walked away from the door, she watched as the tendrils as black as the void she first saw snake through the cracks. The girl was trapped between the instinct to flee and the gut feeling to not turn her back on the door. When the door jolted, the urge to flee overcame her, and she slipped into the burning liquid as she tried to make it to her room. She knew deep down that she was trapping herself in a corner, but she had to get away from the door. The girl was halfway down the hallway when she heard the previous locked door creep open. She screamed and slipped into a wall, cracking her chin on it and stunning her. After that, there was only blackness. "Nicole?" A warm male voice snapped the woman out of her trace. As she turned around, she was met by one of her sister's doctors. She nodded, not sure if she could say anything, or even if she could find her voice if she did have something to say. That morning she had gotten an urgent phone call from the hospital saying that her sister Lindsay was there. Before they had even let her see, the doctor had pulled her to the side and insisted they talk about what happened. Phrases like self-inflicted and assault had been thrown around, and Nicole felt her mind reel. She still hadn't fully understood what they'd been saying till she saw Lindsay with her own eyes. Her little sister had a bandage wrapped around her head, covering both of her eyes as well as her ears. They said it was to keep her from now dead-ended eyes from drying out and to keep the infection out of the wounds Lindsay had made to her ears. The doctors had guessed that either she or someone else had jammed a pencil into them to keep her off her balance to defend herself against something. There was a mix of first and second-degree burns on her hands, legs, and feet from what assumed to be the coffee her neighbors found slipped all over the entire of her apartment. As Nicole walked into her sister's hospital room for the first time, she thought she had spied the silhouette of a man in the window. That she knew was impossible. Her sister's room was on the 3rd story of the hospital. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. See ya!